Hello, and welcome to Health and Fitness Redefined. I'm your host, Anthony Amen. Join me today as we take a dive into the world of health and fitness, where we learn how to overcome adversity, depict fact versus fiction, and see health and fitness in a whole new light. Welcome, guys. We are on Season 2, Episode 2, and today we have a lovely guest. Her name is Beth Ann Dice. Beth is a midlife transformation expert. And today we're going to talk about a topic I know absolutely nothing about, but I'm sure my fiance is excited that I'm going to eventually learn about. That's right. You guessed it. It is all about menopause, if you read the title. So without further ado, let's get her on in here and welcome her to the show. Welcome, Beth Ann Dice, to the show. It is a pleasure having you on today.
Thank you, Anthony, for having me on to talk about this wonderful topic.
I'm so excited. I was just saying, I'm sure my fiance down the road after we're married, she's going to thank me for doing this episode with you. You understand. You learned all those years ago. I'm getting my foot in the door.
And actually, you'd be surprised because a lot of the things that we're going to talk about today can easily apply to a woman at any age. And the other thing that a lot of women don't realize is that you can start experiencing some perimenopausal symptoms as early as your early 30s.
Ooh, don't tell her that.
You just don't know that you're experiencing them. I think that's what happens.
That's fair. So we were talking a little pre-show, a little bit about what you were doing. You said you semi-retired. You had colitis back in 2009. Is that correct?
I think that's about the right year.
About the right year.
Yeah.
You went to your doctor. You did something that most people wouldn't do, which is talk about more holistic options by figuring out food journals and stuff like that, as opposed to the traditional medicine way. So my first question would actually be, what made you take that approach?
It's just really who I am. I'm not a big believer in, a lot of prescription drugs. And when I was first diagnosed, I had a prescription bill that was well over $200 out of pocket, between over-the-counter supplements, as well as some prescription drugs. There were some experimental things that we were trying. And I just didn't like the way that it made me feel. And I certainly didn't like the way it made my pocketbook feel either.
All of a sudden, your pocketbook got lighter and lighter and lighter.
That's exactly it. And I was only feeling worse and worse and worse. So one of the I'm all of a sudden like tongue-tied. One of the appointments that I had with him, I said to him, what are my options? This is just not working. And I also wasn't really feeling better. And he said, well, here's what we can do is, let's start having you write down everything you eat. Let's find your trigger foods. Let's find what your tolerances are for various foods. And within just a few months, I was able to dump that $200 prescription bill and know exactly what to eat, what not to eat. And, some foods that I really loved, I had to cut out, but I was able to figure out, okay, if I only eat a little bit, what happens?
I got you. That's awesome. It is a really tedious thing, food journals. I'll be honest. And I'm sure you have perfect handwriting.
No, I should have been a doctor.
This is always a problem I have. I write things down and then I can never read it. But we live and we learn. So you started doing food journaling. You started feeling better, right? So how long did it take for you to start experiencing relief?
Probably within just a few months, I was feeling really good. And within a year, I had actually put myself in what it's called remission, just similar to, some other diseases. And I have been in remission, for many, many years now.
Awesome. That's awesome. And then you went ahead and you started walking and you started getting people following you walking and you realized, wow, this is awesome. And then like the rest of us, you decide, hey, I'm going to become a personal trainer. And then you become a personal trainer. You're like, I can own a gym. This is easy. And then one thing eventually leads to the next. And now you own a gym over in Fulton you were talking about, right?
That's correct.
And
yep.
You mentioned something very interesting. You said it was a women or feminine-based gym. Talk to us a little bit about that approach you take with that.
Sure. So I am very fortunate because I don't have a lot of overhead because I am in a building that is owned by my significant other. So it made it a little bit easier for me to kind of own my own gym. But I wanted to build what I lovingly refer to as a girly gym. I wanted to build a space that was not your typical gym. I know that a lot of women go into a gym, they feel overwhelmed, they feel uncomfortable, they're not really sure what to do. So I wanted to build more than just something to work your physical body. I really wanted to approach it as, the whole woman, a holistic, it's more than just about, losing weight, building muscle, anything like that. So I kind of had this idea in my head and started to put it together. And, I think sometimes when people walk into my space, it's more like walking into somebody's living room, although I don't have couches. Or
you should. Your clients will love it.
I know. But it is a very comforting space. And, sometimes I see that sometimes there's more tears shed than pounds shed in my studio, but that's okay. I think that I am giving my clients exactly what they need, not only from a physical aspect, but from, a spiritual, mental aspect as well.
Love that. I'm a firm believer in having a spiritual, mental, and physical whole in body one to really make yourself feel good. Absolutely love that. And then you went ahead and you said you got to experience menopause, and you took the same approach where you said, hey, instead of having hot flashes, let me try this food journaling again. So first, tell me, as somebody who is just so naive when it comes to menopause, first just talk to me about what is menopause from even a basics. I'm sure there's guys listening to this like me that just want to help their wives and truly don't understand it. So go ahead, please, and just explain this for us.
Sure. So let's start with perimenopause. So perimenopause is essentially the time before menopause. And it's really hard to, define, okay, it's starting here. But it can be really subtle things. It can be, all of a sudden, you've been very regular with your periods. Now, all of a sudden, they're getting a little wonky. They're not on the right schedule. There's varying flows. That's kind of the thing that a lot of women notice first. You may even start to skip periods. And if you're younger, you may be thinking to myself, oh my gosh, I'm pregnant, or, oh my gosh, I'm pregnant. And, only to be, either disappointed or relieved later on, right? So that's kind of what the most outward sign of perimenopause is. You may have other things that, you're not quite sure what they are, what's causing them. Such as mood swings. You may even have some hot flashes, night sweats. You may start to, find that it's a little bit harder to lose weight. There's really a lot of different things that can start to happen. And then when you're in menopause, your periods have stopped. And you may find that a lot of those hormonal issues are even, more pronounced. The other thing that happens in perimenopause as well as menopause is you can start to experience anxiety, which, maybe you never had before. And in fact, I remember the first time that I had like this little weird anxiety attack. I'm standing in my kitchen at lunchtime. Everything is great in my world. My relationship is good. My finances are good. Things are going well with my day job. Essentially, I'm on top of the world, and all of a sudden I have this weird little pit in my stomach of doom and gloom. And, I remember just stopping for a minute and thinking, oh my gosh, I bet you this is one of those weird little menopausal things. So as I started to experience, varying, periods and, hot flashes, night sweats, I went back to my food and mood journaling and just writing down everything I ate, how I felt before, how I felt after, what did I feel like the next day when I got up? And then I began to be able to track, okay, if I eat chicken wings and have a couple of glasses of red wine, I'm going to have hot flashes and night sweats that night. And, I joke all of the time that I know exactly what to eat if I want to have a hot flash. So just, walking through all of those sorts of things. And as we get older, there's a lot of things changing. And, it gets a little bit harder to lose weight. You may find that you start to put weight on. And it actually takes a little bit different approach to maintain or, regain control of your wellness as you get older.
It's so intriguing to me that just based upon a woman naturally going through her period cycle to eventually it starts cesating into then just total cease to exist, which would be menopause, that all of a sudden their whole hormonal insides are thrown off, the metabolism's thrown off, their you said anxiety level, so their mental state's thrown off. It's odd to feel like these hormones have so much control over who we are as people. And it's, I guess to some people that can be that anxiety for it, where it's these little hormones are kind of taking control of me. When do I get control back? And I think with what you're saying is this is a way to take control back.
Exactly. And, as women, a lot of times we feel like we have no control anyway, right? We've lived everybody else's lives. We're living our parents' lives. Then we're, kind of living that, for a lot of people, that spouse life. Then we're living our kids' lives. And then we get to this period where our kids are off to school and, we've kind of leveled things out in whatever our personal life is. And you're like, okay, I get to control my life now. It's my life. And all of a sudden, wham, your hormones are controlling everything.
It's so intriguing. So you mentioned that, let's start with weight. I think that's always the one I hear as a personal trainer. I'm sure you hear a lot where women say it's the menopause causing weight gain. What are some tips, tricks? You said it's different. Can you elaborate on that a little more about what's different and what they could do to help that?
Sure. So, again, as women, we get these ideas in our heads just growing up about, what the perfect body is and what I should do to, lose weight and what I should eat, what I should not eat, that sort of thing. And truly, when you hit menopause, all of that changes. All of those things that we've heard probably don't work anymore and probably shouldn't have worked and may not have been the most healthy to begin with. So one of the things that I find most intriguing most recently is there's a new study out that talks about what the ideal amount and type of exercise is for women that are in perimenopause and menopause. And it's really shocking, I think, because it is no more than 20 to 30 minutes at a time for a maximum of 90 minutes a week. That's not what we are used to and what we're used to hearing. And the optimal type of exercise as part of this study is more HIIT-based training. And as women, I think as soon as we start to gain weight, the first thing that we do is we start running, or we start, spending hours on a treadmill and just doing all of this steady state cardio for long periods of time, when in fact, according to this new study, we are triggering all of the wrong hormones. So based on this study and the findings from it is at the 20 to 30 minute mark of steady state cardio, women start to trigger the wrong hormones in their bodies when they are in perimenopause and menopause, which actually makes you gain or retain weight. And that's, you know, one of the first things when I talk with clients, it's one of the first things that we talk about is, you know, what are they doing for exercise? And I find out that they're hopping on a treadmill for, you know, an hour every day while they binge watch their favorite TV show. So, you know, this new study, I have actually been kind of experimenting with it since the beginning of the year on myself, and I've changed my format of my group classes based around this study, and it seems to be very effective. The other thing that women do just throughout their lives is we don't eat enough. And I know that every trainer struggles with this, especially with women, that, you know, we've got clients who are coming in who are barely hitting the 1,000-calorie mark. And the first thing I do with any of my clients is I bump their calories up and they freak out. You know, they're convinced I'm going to make them get fat. And really all I'm doing is putting their bodies at this level that they can function. And I like to use the analogy of cavemen. Or cave people, cave women, whatever you want to say. So we've got this steady state cardio going on, and we're eating maybe, you know, 700 calories a day. Our bodies are really just cave people, right? And we're cave people that like have nice cars and live in houses. When you start doing that steady state cardio and you're at that huge calorie deficit of, you know, only eating, you know, maybe 700, 800, 900 calories a day, your body just automatically throws itself in crisis mode. So anything that you do eat, it's going to hold on to. And then you add on the steady state cardio, and it just gets worse because your body just thinks that it's under attack and that, you know, there's no food to eat and that you're on the run from predators. And as soon as I bring a client in, change their eating habits, and, you know, change what they're doing for exercise, we start to get results. The other thing that I do with their food intake, I bump up their protein. Again, as women, someplace along the line, we hear that protein is bad for us, as well as healthy fats. And, you know, we just get this idea in our head that, you know, I'm just going to eat salad. I'm just going to eat salad. I'm just going to eat salad. And truly, as we get older, we need those proteins. There are a lot of protein-rich foods which will actually help your body replace the estrogen levels that it's losing. And if you are a woman who is on any type of medicine to reduce your estrogen levels because you have you're prone to female cancers such as breast cancer or ovarian cancer, you need to eat those foods that are going to kind of boost your hormonal levels to keep things going. The other thing that, you know, I find with women is the idea of carbohydrates. Carbohydrates are bad. You know, over and over and over, I hear carbs are bad. Well, this person told me that I shouldn't eat carbs because they're going to make me fat. No, carbs don't make you fat. And then I help women make healthy choices of which carbohydrates to eat. And I also teach them when to eat those carbohydrates. So if you have a desk job, you don't necessarily want to, you know, eat your carbohydrates in the morning, hop in the car, commute to your job, and sit at a desk. You want to take those carbohydrates and consume them around your workout time. So either, you know, ideally right before, and then again after your workout. And you'll find that that really maximizes your workout, makes your workout a little bit easier. And this little combination of all of these things, I've actually come up with, I call it my 4M method to wellness. So I use the word meals because diet has a bad mental connotation, I think. I use the word movement instead of exercise because, again, you know, We don't always think of exercise as favorable. And there are other types of movements besides just your workout. And then I have the mindset is one of my 4 M's. And for me, as you had mentioned before, sometimes mindset is the biggest thing. If you don't have it
Absolutely.
up here, if you can't get it up here, then anything that you do in the gym or in the kitchen really isn't going to make a difference. And then the 4th M is magic. Not that I'm magic and not that I have a magic wand, but it's really just how it all works together.
Awesome. So, love a lot what you said. And I think it's more just for menopausal women or not, or everything. Women, it's do cardio too much. Tell me, I get in fights about carbs every day. And then trying to convince them to eat protein is pulling teeth. So I totally and utterly get it. And I just wish that they listen to us. I mean, I want to ask you, any special way of going about talking to people that can help maybe make someone understand more? Is there any secret magic wand you have that gets people to listen to you? Because I really want to know.
There is no magic wand, but I think it's just a matter of, I walk the walk and I talk the talk. If you come in and see what I'm eating on any day, there's protein, and there's lots of protein. I believe in treat meals, not cheats, but treats. And
Love it. I do the same thing.
That's a mindset shift. It's not a cheat. You're not cheating. You're giving yourself a treat. And it's all 80-20. You don't have to have a perfect diet. And oh my gosh, this is real life, right? Don't, be mad at yourself because you had pizza on family pizza night or a glass of wine when you went out to dinner. And I think that is a huge impact, is the fact that I'm not only saying these words, but I'm living these words. And I probably overshare, what I'm eating and that sort of thing. The other thing is I love to eat. I am a huge foodie. And I can take just about any bad food, not that I like to call a food bad, and turn it into something good. And a lot of what I provide my clients is just, recipes. And, I like to see what are your favorite foods. And then we talk about alternates, and just, showing everybody that real life is okay. You don't have to be perfect. And, I like to share a lot of what my clients tell me. I do it anonymously. I had a woman just a few weeks ago who was going through a short 3-week program that I've just put together and was testing. And after the first week, she's like, oh my gosh, she's like, I feel so healthy. I don't care if I don't lose a pound, because I just feel good. I feel healthy. And, to me, that's what it's all about, is I don't care if you lose another pound. I just want you to be healthy and feel good.
I absolutely love it. I want to get back to specifically menopause a little bit. So we talked about the weight part. Yeah, I know another big symptom, just from what I've heard, hot flashes are a big one. What triggers a hot flash, and what are some ways you can help prevent them?
Sure. It really is just a chemical imbalance in your body that causes it. And, one of the ways that I've found to, regulate it is to figure out what it is that you're putting into your body that is causing it. Now, for me, as I mentioned before, chicken wings and red wine, it's the combination. I can have either one on its own without any problems, but there's something about that combination. What I do find with a lot of my clients, though, is that processed foods are probably the number one issue. That, and especially anything high in sugar. And it can be individual to each woman, which is why that food and mood journal is so, so important. But, like I say, it is so, so tied to processed foods and just putting chemicals in our body that our body doesn't know how to process, under what I'll call normal circumstances, and then add in, crazy hormonal fluctuations, and you've got just the perfect storm, if you will, for hot flashes.
Yeah, that's awesome. So it's different is what I'm hearing. So there's some things that are the same, where you were saying was processed foods and sugars, and then there's other triggers. There's certain combinations could just set that individual person off. And I guess it really depends on how much of the hormone you have in your body, which of course fluctuates for everyone. Even men, all men have testosterone, but we all have different levels.
Right.
Which is a good way of thinking of it, I guess, for some people. And then what some people really don't know is that when you're going through puberty, men actually have to use testosterone to produce estrogen, and women have estrogen and have to produce testosterone, because we still share a lot of the same characteristics and need those hormones to build them out. A lot of people don't know that. But always good to know. And that's another segment all about puberty. I'm sure people love that one. Is there anything else? So I guess my biggest question is, when, like I keep repeating, how long does menopause last? I'm going to say typically, because I'm sure it differs for everybody, but at what point is menopause considered over, and what changes should someone expect after going to the other end, and what adaptations should they continue with them?
Sure. So again, it really varies from woman to woman. If you want to get a good idea, though, find out from your grandmother and your mother what they went through, and your aunts, if they even talked about it. You are considered to be truly in menopause and out of perimenopause after you have been without a period for a full year. So, a lot of people think that, perimenopause is like this period. And then, as soon as I've gone a few months without my period, oh, I'm menopausal. You're not actually menopausal until you've gone through that full year. And then you are considered to be in menopause.
Awesome. So it's a full year of perimenopause. And then when are you considered to be out of menopause? Is there a stage where it's like, I'm no longer in menopause?
There really isn't one. There's a lot of conflicting information on that one, because you hear the term postmenopausal, and there's really no clear definition of what that is. There's no special thing that happens in your life.
There's no special, like, it doesn't matter what foods you're eating. You're not going to get hot flashes anymore.
It really tapers off, but I mean, I have known women who, have not had a period in 10 years that will still have hot flashes here and there. So it's I think from menopause on, it's a little bit of a crapshoot with what happens with you.
I got you. So any kind of last minute wrap it all up for us, advice for anyone experiencing the perimenopause or menopause itself? Just kind of that take home message. Here's one for you ladies. Go for it, Beth.
Sure. So, my big thing is age is really just a number, and you have to feel good about yourself and in your own skin. And this is a wonderful, wonderful time in our lives to kind of blow the doors off of, let's, not talk about menopause and talk about it. And, my whole thing is just helping women make their mid-years their best years, because truly, truly they can be. And just keep a sense of humor about it. If you're having a hot flash, just make a joke of it. It's not a big deal. And I think the fact that our mothers and grandmothers didn't really talk about it, it's one of those things that it almost does us all a disservice. So, I'm that person that I'll talk about it in the middle of, a dinner party if somebody asks. And that's just the big thing is just, if you feel young inside, you're going to exude that youthfulness on the outside.
I love that. If you feel young on the inside, you can exude that on the outside. You know what? That goes for everybody.
It does. It does. I know 20-year-olds that or I'm going to say 80-year-olds. But I know, 53-year-olds that are like teenagers.
I love it. Thank you. And where can people find you?
They can go to my website, which is bethandice.com, and all of my information is there.
Awesome. Thank you so much for coming on, Beth. And thank you for joining us on this week's episode of Health and Fitness Redefined. Don't forget, subscribe to our show and join us next week as we dive deeper into this ever-changing field. And remember, fitness is a journey, not a destination. Until next time.